Awesome. I know there's still people coming in. Can I ask a favor? Just for my sake, selfishly, could everybody come forward a little bit? Come forward a couple of rows? I feel like you're all so far away. Is that okay? 3 people moved. If I was in a Pentecostal church right now and I said, I believe the Holy Spirit is telling me that you all should move forward, everybody would move forward. It's true. You know it's true. Yeah, is that all right? Because I want people when they come in, here's the deal. I've got a backpack somewhere and it's filled with stickers and pens. And I'm going to give stickers and pens to anybody who comes forward. Yes. I just need to get Victor in the room and have him go into my backpack and pull out the thing. I didn't have enough time coming from my last workshop to here. Okay, so I'm just going to get started. Hey, in the library, my backpack, I think, is on the chair I was sitting in. Inside that, there's a YouVersion bag that's got stickers and pens in it. Thank you, Victor. Round of applause for Victor. Come on. Okay, so I learned something from my workshop that I just did on social media. I didn't leave enough room and time for questions, so part of me wants to ditch everything that I've got prepared so I can just answer questions. The reason I like answering questions for people is because it contextualizes to their situation, right? I can do this 30-minute talk about why you all should be using YouTube and give you all tips, and I can do that. But I also want to make sure I'm giving you enough room to say, hey, in my church, I'm experiencing blah, 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 and we can actually get real and tinker around with what you're actually experiencing. So this session is called How to Grow Your Church on YouTube. You're the best. Thank you, sir. How to grow your church on YouTube. So I want to get a show of hands, if I could, please. How many of you have ever uploaded a sermon to YouTube? Okay, of those people who have their hands up, how many of you have ever uploaded a sermon to YouTube and secretly wished you could take it down and change it a week later? How many of you ever uploaded a church to YouTube, gone to YouTube a week later and saw that 4 people have watched it and you thought to yourself, wow, that's really disappointing? And then when you refreshed it the next day, you told yourself that it was just the algorithm? And it wasn't because nobody really liked your message? Come on. Thank you. It's good to know that I at least am not alone. One of the conversations I have with pastors all over New Zealand and all over Australia on a regular basis is something like this. They will say things like, we've been uploading our sermons to YouTube for years. We live stream on YouTube every single Sabbath. We've got hundreds of videos online, but nobody seems to be finding them. If that's ever crossed your mind, I want you to know you're not failing. The issue is that most churches are using YouTube like a filing cabinet. Most churches are using YouTube like a filing cabinet. I'll say that a third time because there's a slide. Most churches are using, there it is, like a filing cabinet. But YouTube is not a place to store content. It's not a place to archive sermons. YouTube is not designed to be a filing cabinet. It's designed to be a place where people discover things, because YouTube is still, even in the age of AI, it's still the second biggest search engine in the world that's owned by the biggest search engine in the world. According to the latest data, YouTube processes more than 3 billion searches per month. And if you do the math and break that down, that's 1,150 searches per second. Per second. I've got 40 minutes on the clock. Imagine how many searches on YouTube are going to happen. See, in 2026, YouTube is the place that people go to find answers for everything, from fixing their car to fixing their marriage. We all do this, right? How many of us have done this? Need to fix the door handle to the bathroom. What do? Come on, you go to YouTube, right? And you type in, how do I fix the door handle on my bathroom? And when YouTube shows up 3 videos and one of them's 37 minutes long, the other one's 7 minutes long, and the other one is 2 minutes, which one do you go to first? Which one do you go to second when the 2-minute one doesn't do it? 7 minutes. Yeah, how many of you are posting 2-minute videos on YouTube? No, you take your sermon, which is what? 30 minutes? 35 minutes? And then you wonder why people aren't watching them? What would happen if you took that sermon and you gave it to somebody in your church to do an 11-minute or a 7-minute version cut down of your message? And then what if you cut that down even further and posted a 2-minute up there as well? What if you cut it down even further and did a 60-second YouTube short? Because guess what? People want YouTube shorts. And if that YouTube short had a link to it that drove people to the 7-minute version, which had a link to it which drove people to the 11-minute version, which had a link that drove people to the 35-minute version, and then on that one, there was a YouTube card or a YouTube end screen that told people where your church is located and what time you meet on the Sabbath, that 30, 60-second video was worth it, right? But we don't do that. We take our 30-minute message, we don't cut any of it back, we throw it up on YouTube believing that it's a filing cabinet and wonder why it doesn't work. YouTube is the front door to your church. It's not a filing cabinet. And that's because YouTube is primarily a broadcasting platform. YouTube is a discovery platform. And today, what I want to do in the next 38 minutes is help you move beyond just simply live streaming your services or dumping videos on YouTube as a place to save them, and start thinking strategically about how you can leverage your YouTube channel to reach people who are asking questions on that same platform every single day, nearly 1,200 times per second. So turn to the person next to you right now, and just for 60 seconds, because that's about 60,000 searches on YouTube by the time you finish, ask this question: what's your biggest frustration with your church's YouTube channel? Answer that question, 60 seconds, discuss it amongst yourselves. Go. Okay, I want to hear some answers. Like, give me like 3 or 4 answers. What's the biggest frustration with your church's YouTube channel? Go. Somebody want to be courageous? Okay. Nobody watches. Who else had that as their biggest frustration? Nobody watches. Yep. Yeah. Anybody else? The content is dead. Is your pastor in the room? Content is dead. All right. Yep, up the back.
Our church doesn't have a YouTube channel.
That is so frustrating. Where's your pastor? I want to talk to him or her right now. All right, one more. Biggest frustration? Bad audio on YouTube. I just was in a social media workshop where somebody said, should I focus on video? And I said to them, only focus on video if you get the audio right, because people will put up with a bad video. They will not put up with bad audio. I will watch a badly shot, shaky camera, like blurry video if the audio is really good. Focus on the audio first. I 100% agree with you. I could go off on a tangent. We could just start talking about that. Good Lord, there's so much for me to get through. Here's the deal. I think when it comes to YouTube, most churches, I think, have everything backwards, because what we do is we start with the content and we think that that's the right approach. But in contrast, people use YouTube. When people start using YouTube, they start with questions. People using YouTube start with a question. Think about your own behavior. Like I just said before, if something breaks in your house, you go and you ask a question, right? How do I fix this? How do I do that? How do I solve that issue? I mean, when was the last time you searched YouTube for church service week 7? I see people do this all the time. I see churches do this all the time. When was the last time you searched for that? Never. When was the last time you searched for Sabbath worship, June 14? You don't. But what people do go to YouTube and ask questions for, they're asking questions like, how do I pray? Why am I so anxious? Can God actually forgive me for all the things that I've done? How do I read the Bible? How do I believe the Bible? Why does suffering exist? Why do good things happen to bad people? Why did Trump get elected? That's a whole other workshop. People search for answers, they don't search for sermon series. Nobody has ever sat down at 11 p.m. and thought, you know what I need right now? Week 7 of that steward service done by that church down the road that I've never been to. The point is, people are still asking questions all the time about God, Jesus, faith. That has not changed. But the place where people are asking questions has changed. Well, I want you to turn to your neighbor again and answer this question. What questions do you think people in your community right now are asking? And when I say your community, I want to do it twofold, part A, part B. Part A is the people who are currently in your church community, and then the people who live in the community that your church has been called to serve. What questions do you think people in your community are asking right now? Go. You got 30 seconds. Think locally, think contextually. Okay, wrap it up. I want to hear somebody tell me a couple of questions that you think the people in your church are asking right now. Anybody, yell it out. Is this the right religion? Is that what you said? That's a good one. Yeah. Where's the world going? I'm asking that one. What's that? What are the people like in that church? Is that what people in your church are asking? Why young people stop coming from church? Is this the end? Yeah. Bingo. How can I pay to put gas in my car? Do I need to get an electric car? Yes, up the back. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, loneliness. Yeah, how can I stop being lonely? Is this community going to welcome me? Is this somewhere where I can belong? That's a really good one. And I think it's a really good one because it lines up with what I'm about to say. This is perfect. One of the central ideas in a book that I wrote a couple of years ago called Meta Church. I'm not asking you to buy this this book at all. Please don't. It's fine. It's not why I'm here. But this is a collection of everything I've learned over 20 years of being an online pastor doing digital ministry. I wanted to put it all into a book so that churches didn't have to pay me to come in and do it as a consultant, but they could just pay $15, help put my kids through college, and know everything that I know and not have to hire me or anybody as a consultant. One of the biggest things I learned in writing this book, as I did all the research of the last 20 years, was that the front door of your church is no longer the front door of your church. See, back in 2006, if somebody wanted to visit your church, they actually had to go to your church. They actually had to walk through the front door. But today, people will experience your church online before they experience your church in person. They've already searched, they've already scrolled, they've already stalked before they make the decision to come into your church. They often go through Google and they often go through YouTube, sometimes through social media. And that's a massive shift. And it should change the way that we all think about ministry, and it should definitely change the way we all think about YouTube, because people are making decisions about your church before they arrive at your church. They're reviewing They're watching videos, they're listening to podcasts, but most of all, they're asking questions, and they're asking questions like the ones that we just heard. How can I stop being lonely? How can I feel welcome? What's that church really like? Are there going to be any young people there? They're asking all the same questions that you just shared, and increasingly these questions are being asked online, which is why YouTube matters. Because YouTube is the place where curiosity begins. But here's the key. The goal isn't to keep people online. The goal is to help them take the next step. Online should always lead to on-site. Online should always lead to on-site. Because in that way, a search becomes a conversation becomes a visit becomes a relationship, and a relationship becomes discipleship. But how does YouTube make that happen? Well, what's on your YouTube banner? Is it a photo of inside your auditorium with the stage perfectly lit and one solitary hand up in worship that silhouetted against the stage lighting? Or is it a photo of the front of your building with some service time information so that somebody doesn't even have to watch a video? Do you have end screens on the end of your videos so that what pops up is a slide that says, if you'd like to find out more information, here's our website, or come along and join us? With a photo of the people who are in your church so the person watching sees themselves in your church. There's somebody who looks like me. There's somebody who's got as many kids as I do. There's a guy I could probably be friends with, and it's really hard to make friends as an adult. That's the next thing I'm going to YouTube. There are ways that YouTube can help people take a next step, but we have to be focused on doing those things. All right, what I want you to do, if your church has a YouTube channel, I want you to take out your phone right now. Everybody, go. Some of you have already got it out. You've had it out the whole time. You're not even listening. That's fine. Now you have permission to take your phone out. I want you to open your church's YouTube channel. If you don't have a YouTube channel at your church, go and sit next to somebody who does. Open your YouTube channel. I want you to take 60 seconds. And I want you to imagine that you have never been to church before. Imagine you've never been to church before. You know nothing about church. And I want you to look at your church YouTube channel and ask yourself, if you were unchurched, in 60 seconds, could you find the answer to these questions just by looking at this page? Who is this church? What does this church care about? Why should I watch a video? And what should I do next? On that front page of your YouTube channel, or in the About page section of your YouTube channel, does it answer any of those questions? Does anybody feel confident in sharing that their church YouTube channel does all of those things? See, this is how I think every church should evaluate their YouTube channels. And we should be evaluating our churches on a regular basis as well. What is it like for newcomers to walk in the front door? But likewise, what is it like for somebody who stumbles upon our YouTube channel for the very first time? And I think we need to start asking these questions on a more regular basis. In fact, there's 4 questions I think we should all ask when it comes to our YouTube channel. The first one is, can people find us? Can people actually find your church content? Let's compare 2 video titles that I've actually seen. The first one says this, Vision Series Week 4. The second one says, what Jesus says about anxiety. Which one do you think you're most likely to watch, or the people in your community are most likely to watch? Exactly. Which one is more likely to appear in a search result? Right? People search for answers, not sermon series. So I want to encourage you to go back through your past messages that you've uploaded to YouTube and rename 3 sermon videos this week. That's all I want you to do. Rename 3. You know you can do this, right? The video's there. Go back, find one, rename it. Rename it something that is actually a question that people are actually asking. So instead of week 3, faithful living, try how to trust God when life doesn't make sense. Instead of living with purpose, which sounds really good, try something like why so many people who are successful still feel empty in life. See, the sermon hasn't changed, but the doorway into the sermon can change. We can keep editing that. The second question we should ask ourselves, before I get to some of your questions, is can people imagine themselves here? Can people imagine themselves at your church? Like I said before, can they see people at your church when they watch your videos that they resonate with? I think that's a person I would get to know. Could they imagine making friends at your church? Could they imagine belonging in community at your church? Would they feel welcomed even to be accepted when they walk through the door in your church? See, YouTube isn't just introducing people to your content, it's introducing people to your community. When I was pastoring in the US, not a weekend wouldn't go by where somebody would come up to me as the online pastor and say, I've been watching our YouTube videos for months. I watched online before I visited. I felt like I already knew people at this church because I've been watching online for so long. You see, that's the shift. People belong before they attend. Think about how strange that is. 20 years ago, people had to attend in order to belong, but today they often feel like they belong before they even attend. They know the pastor. They know the worship team. They probably have a favorite worship leader. They know your church culture. They've watched online for months. They already have decided whether or not they can see themselves at your church long before they ever walk through the doors. And this means that YouTube is a really great place to show people that you're interested, not just what happens in the church building, but you're interested in what's happening in the streets around your church. Record videos in the local streets. Record videos at the landmark in your local community. Show them that you care more about what's happening outside than what's happening inside. Show real life, not just sermons. The third question is, can people take a next step? When it comes to YouTube, this is where most churches lose momentum because they think the goal is views. The goal is not views, it's not subscribers, it's not watch times. The goal is movement. Every video that you post should in some way answer one question: what's next? What is the next step for me in my faith journey? What is the next step for me in finding freedom, in finding healing? What is the next step for me in becoming part of that local community? Every video should answer the question, what's next? Why? Now what? Is there a next step on your videos? Like I said, the goal isn't to get views. The goal is to build pathways. The goal isn't to get views. The goal is to build pathways. And there's a number of ways you can do that. Like I said already, there's end screens, there's YouTube cards, there's pinned comments, having your website in your about page. All of these ways make it easy. So again, open up your YouTube channel, look at the last 10 videos and score yourself out of 10 in these areas. The first one is discovery. Could somebody find your content because you've used keywords and keyword phrases to title your videos? The next is trust. Do any of your videos help people build trust for you as an organization, you as a church community? Next is belonging. Could someone imagine being welcomed and loved and cared for at your church? And then the fourth is next steps. Do people know what to do next? If you score yourself out of 10 in each of those categories and your answer is under 20, there's work to do on your YouTube strategy. Not on your YouTube channel necessarily, on your YouTube strategy. So I'm going to encourage you to do 3 things this week, and I'm going to leave about 20 minutes for us to just have a Q&A time where you can ask me any question, as technical or as strategic as necessary. This is always my favorite part because I get to contextualize content for you. The 3 things that I want you to do this week are really simple. 1 is rename 3 videos. Go back through your archive of videos and rename 3 of them to something that is keyword optimized. Something that people are actually searching for. Something that answers questions people are actually asking, not answering the questions you wish or hope they were asking. Second is create 1 YouTube short. We all know what YouTube Shorts are. It's a 60-second vertical video, highly searchable. Do it real quick. Do it after your next Sabbath service. Hey, today we discussed why Jesus walked on water. And we talked about how it's because he was showing that he had control over everything that causes chaos. What are the things in your life causing chaos, and how can I pray for you today? That was a pretty good 30-second video for off the cuff. And I bet that would get views because everybody wants to be prayed for. Create one YouTube short and then add one clear next step. That could be in the about page. It could be as an end screen that you start leveraging more and more. But you've got to find ways to create next steps. So there are 3 simple things I want you to do this week. When I started in digital ministry nearly 20 years ago, most churches thought about their building as their front door, but that's not true anymore. Right now, the first thing that people connect with is often a video thumbnail, not a billboard. It's a video title, it's a YouTube search result, it's a 30-second clip. People don't experience your church for the first time at your front door anymore. And that's why YouTube matters. That's why your social media matters. Not because you're trying to build a channel, not because you're chasing views, not because you're trying to become an influencer, but because every view represents a person. Look at your data on YouTube and see what people are watching and why they're watching it. The data is really important. Numbers matter. Numbers matter because people count. Every view represents somebody who's asking a question, exploring faith, deciding whether or not your church feels safe enough for them to come next Sabbath. It represents a person who's standing at the door, waiting to be welcomed. So when it comes to YouTube, don't ask the question, how can I get more views? The question actually is, what kind of front door are you building at your church? Okay, 17 minutes left, and I want to do a Q&A. You're in here probably because you got questions about YouTube. I might have answered some, I might not have answered others, so any question is on the table. And you know what? I don't know if Victor's in the room, but it doesn't have to be about YouTube if you don't want it to be. I'm happy to answer any question about almost anything.
I've got 2 short questions. First is, would you advise anyone to subscribe now?
Hey, if this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. Don't do that. That's what YouTubers do. People will subscribe for the same reason that they come and stay at your church, because they feel like they belong. If you're doing it right, you shouldn't have to ask them to subscribe. But I would still say, somewhere on your YouTube channel banner, hey, subscribe. Have it there, so then you don't have to say it.
Second is, would you advise, for example, you have a Facebook page, you have a YouTube channel, like you do a short video on Facebook,
Yeah.
and then in the comment you put a link from the YouTube.
Oh, did everybody hear that question? Should you do a YouTube video, tell me if I get this wrong, and post the same video into Facebook? Okay, short and post an edited version of the video in Facebook with a link in Facebook to go to your YouTube channel. Does that make sense? No. Why not? Did you say why not? Facebook, Meta, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a story link on Instagram or if it's a caption in Facebook, as soon as you put a YouTube channel, they throttle your reach. The algorithm is designed to do that because Meta doesn't want you to go to another algorithm. Meta's whole purpose is to keep you on Meta. Facebook wants to keep you on Facebook. So post the long video on Facebook. Post it, because there are some people for whom that's where they're going to go. They're going to watch videos on Facebook. They're not going to watch it on YouTube, and that has to be okay. We have to be okay with that. This is what I was saying in our social media workshop. We think that church attendance is decreasing. It's not decreasing, it's decentralizing. People are watching your content in person. Some are watching it on Facebook, some are watching it on YouTube. But if you don't post it on Facebook and you have to make them jump through hoops, hey, here's a hook on Facebook, but watch the video on YouTube. That's the equivalent of people coming here on Sabbath and saying, hey, guess what? Glad you're here. We're meeting tomorrow now. Go there, right? We would never do that. So why do it online? Good question. Was that 2 questions? Yeah.
Using Facebook, Facebook ad, we can target our audience.
Yep. Okay, so the question was, we can do targeted ads on Facebook, can we do targeted ads on YouTube? Answer is yes, it's even better. Because YouTube is owned by Google, and Google's ads are so much deeper. They've got way more data than Facebook has. And so you just need to set up a Google AdSense account and do exactly the same sort of thing. You can do lookalike accounts. It can help you with your local context. On YouTube, through a Google AdSense account, you can target people who live within a 5 or a 10 or a 20 mile radius of this church. Targeted. How cool is that? Dang, I love that. Yeah, so the short answer is yes, you can do it, and it's probably even better. And Google has grants as well that you can use on YouTube. So they give several $1,000s to organizations, especially nonprofits, a year. You just have to apply for a Google grant, show that you're a nonprofit. They'll give you, I think it's like $5,000 to run ads on Google AdSense. Why aren't we doing this? Free money. There has to be more questions. Well, yeah. Yep. That's such a good question. So the question is, he runs his whole service from beginning to end, worship, everything. Do you ever get black flagged for worship? Copyright claims on worship? Yeah? So to answer your question, yes, it should be edited. I take out the worship. One of the reasons I take out the worship is some people here have already got copyright strikes because we all think we've got CCLI licenses. That allows us, it doesn't, not on Facebook, not on social media. So there's a chance, you're running the risk of that. Second thing I'll say is this. So I used to work at a church called North Point. North Point was huge. We had about 900,000 people who followed us on YouTube. And we had 80,000 people who watched our live stream, just like the live stream, like on our website, right? And one of the things we started to track, or I started to track, especially when COVID hit, what we noticed when COVID hit was our YouTube views plummeted. And the pastor of the church, Andy Stanley, he called me one day and he said, hey, what's going on? I heard that our viewer retention has halved. And I said, yeah, it has. He goes, what do we need to do? I said, it's so simple, because I've looked at the data, because YouTube provides unbelievable data. It'll show you when people come in and it shows you when they leave. And what happens is, by the time you hit 30 seconds in, people are gone. And so I said to him, it kills me because I'm a guitar player. I was on the worship team. I said, we need to cut the worship. I said, do you want to get more viewers? Start with the message. And because Andy is a very catalytic leader, literally he said to me, starting that next week. And so the next week, there was a 5-second stinger, welcome to North Point, and then straight away, Andy's on stage preaching. Straight into it. What we saw was our views doubled. Our viewer retention lasted longer. And then we put some worship on the back end of the service. We did 3 songs on the back end of the service, right? Because people who wanted to watch it could watch it. It was there. People who didn't, they bailed. So what was happening previous to that was people were coming in, seeing the music, switching off, or going off and making breakfast for their kids. I know that every worship pastor in the room believes that when people are at home watching online, they're standing in front of their TVs with their arms raised and they're singing at the top of their lungs. They're not. They're shopping, they're surfing the web, they're looking at social media. Sorry guys. They're also cooking dinner or breakfast. So I would say If you want your online stream to shift, cut those things out. It's good that you stream it, but when it comes to what you save on there, I would repost what you save. The other thing about Facebook is Facebook counts 3-second views as a view. And so we all get on and go, oh my gosh, 1,000 people watched our service this week. That's amazing. We all share it, we all celebrate. And when somebody finally looks in the data, what they find is 980 of those people watched for 3 seconds or less. That is the same as the pastors at this church counting the cars that drive by on Sabbath as having attended. Right? So that's another reason why I would be very hesitant about keeping that up there. How do you? Yeah, so stream it. Stream it. But then on Monday, take this, hide the stream, archive the stream, and put the message up. That's what I would do. Archive it. Don't delete it, because you want to keep that data. So archive it. Over here. Oh yeah, if you can do that, if you've got the technical ability to do that, to start the live stream after worship, yeah, that's an incredible way to do it. But we have to keep in mind a couple of things. For some people, online is their lifeline. They can't come for whatever reason, not just travel, but maybe sickness, elderly, there's so many reasons. So we have to keep in mind that for some people, online is their lifeline to the church. And so we have to keep that in mind. So I would say, try not to disrupt the flow of the service too much. Live stream the whole thing, then archive it and put just the message up. Or on YouTube, since we're talking YouTube, keep the live stream and just put it in a playlist called Full Service, live stream, whatever it is, and then on Monday, put just the message up so that people can watch that too. Give them both options, don't give them one or the other based on our preference. So remember, this was during COVID, and so during COVID, we did the message, then the worship. Message, worship, every single week until the end of COVID. Well, yeah, because it was pre-recorded in advance and all those sorts of things. Atlanta has had pretty heavy lockdown rules. And so we had to do that. And so just for that period. Now, when COVID finished I don't know if it finished, I shouldn't say that. But when people could open up the doors and we could step back into our buildings, we stepped back into time and went back to doing things the way that we've always done it, which I don't think was the smartest move either, but that's just me. How do you manage the comment section and reduce the negative? First of all, you can't reduce the negative, ever. There's going to be negative people. So first of all, I would say, everybody listening, don't put a 16-year-old in charge of your YouTube channel because you think they're young and they know the platform. Yes, they probably do know the platform, but the thing that a 16-year-old doesn't know is strategy or accountability. So always make sure there's more than one person who's checking through the comment section. And then I always worked off a rule of 3 Ps. If there was profanity, pornography, or no profile photo, that's 4 Ps, because photo, you get what I'm saying. If those things existed, and they were negative, I got rid of the post. I hid it or I deleted it. And I didn't delete very often, because I believe that we can learn from criticism. I think we can learn from bad feedback. And so I was very reluctant to do that. But if there was no profile pic and they were being always negative, if there was profanity, so they started cursing, or there was links to pornography, which is gone. This guy had a question, yeah. Out of context, that was such a good question. Do you have the shorts and the longs all together? Great question. So YouTube automatically splits up your shorts anyway, so it puts it in its own separate thing. But one of the things I would say, really practical tip, go through your YouTube channel, the front page, and curate your list. You can create playlists that curate. So the current message series you're doing should be at the very top. And then your most popular message series, the ones that you feel the proudest of, the ones you think you did the best job on, they should be next. But they all should be related to what's answering questions that people are actually asking. So this one might be a marriage playlist. This one might be a parenting playlist, dealing with anxiety playlist, how to survive in the modern world playlist. Like all of those should be playlists. Because if you don't go in and curate it, YouTube does it for you, and you're not going to be happy with it because it's going to have a For You section at the top, and then it's going to have your shorts next, and then it's just going to have videos. And you're not going to be happy. Curate it. There's a question right up the back.
What we do is we license the whole service, like order. As soon as YouTube allows us to get that side out, go out and be in and out the way to
Yeah.
reason why we shouldn't like the way to try to take the hours to like to happen. But my question is this, the horrible meeting populated. If we trim out the attention itself, then it's not copyright next school here as a result. Or should we go to each side and address each individual?
So you're going in 12 hours later and editing out the worship? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if everybody knows you can do that. On a live stream, you can trim, you can pull like little sliders in, you can get rid of you can take out the worship. As soon as you take out the worship, copyright doesn't exist anymore. So you're going to be safe on that end. But you brought up something that's really cool, and a lot of people don't know that you can actually do that. Once your live stream is over, you can trim it. So people can still watch it, but people who are watching it later will miss out on the worship. So there's things you can do to get around that, but that's a really good tip for sure. Would I live stream the whole service or would I live stream the message? I do the whole service all the time because there's people who can't get to church and want to see the worship. And then on YouTube, I would trim it out. But even on YouTube, I would still also upload just the message. Like I would do that 2 days later, next day, whatever, get into a rhythm of doing that. And then at North Point, what we did, and it was my job to oversee this, which was brutal, I would create a 7-minute version and I would create a 60-second version. And we would take the 60 seconds, we would put it as a YouTube short, and we'd have all the links back to the 7-minute version, then to the 35-minute version. So we were taking people on a journey. We believed in next steps. 30 seconds, 7 minutes, full message. Then what happened when people moved from that, they started to watch our service online more and more, so they got the whole thing in a different experience. But then we would also post that YouTube short, we'd post that as an Instagram reel or an Instagram story. We'd post it as a Facebook story, and suddenly we're getting a lot more movement in a lot of different places because, as I said before, church attendance isn't decreasing, it's decentralizing. And so we were providing it in whatever platform people wanted it on. We were going to the places that they were already gathering. Would they need some? So if somebody's on Facebook, for example, and they share it, is that what you mean? On YouTube? Yep. Yep. Right. Yep. 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 Technically, the answer is no. Like legally, you don't have to ask for permission. I think it's the right thing to do. I think out of respect, I would do it for sure. But legally, there's no real legal requirement, no. I got time for one, maybe two more. I got no time for comments. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's an opportunity for grace. Yeah. I agree. 100%. Do it all the time myself on my own Instagram feed. I get negative comments all the time, and it's an opportunity for me to show grace, and I kind of approach it like a politician. Have you ever seen politicians at work when somebody says, why did you embezzle that money on this sort of thing? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. The thing that I'm focused on at the moment is building this new building over here and blah, blah, blah. Do that. Hey, that's a great comment. Thank you so much for sharing that. Did you know that Jesus forgives you? Be a politician. Okay, that is a great question. The short answer is kind of yes. Okay, who's running slides? Can somebody go back to just pick one of the bottom line quote things that I did? You know, can we put that on a screen somewhere? Just. So the question was, when I'm doing a video, am I thinking of, like if I'm preaching, am I thinking of the 35-minute message, or am I thinking of the 7-minute version or the 60-second version? The short answer is, have we got a different one? Just scroll through and just find something where there's white and yellow text. So one of the things that I got taught to do when preaching is that people learn differently. Everybody learns differently, right? Some people can listen. One of the things that has impressed me the most during this conference is watching Pastor Sam speak. Have you ever noticed he just gets up here with no notes? And I'm like, dang, dude, that's so good. I want to be him when I grow up. But for me, I know that I'm also a visual learner. So I create slides like this to draw people's attention. And what I'm trying to do is create a pattern interruption. Because people drift off. But if you put something on the screen, and you make some important words in a different color, which I use that color for a very specific reason, because it's not jarring, but it's enough to stand out that makes you wonder why I chose that word, right? And the reason I do these sorts of things is because I'm thinking people will take photos of it, which everybody has, right? Plus, this becomes the opportunity for me to do a 30-second video setting up this line and then showing this line. Does that make sense? And you want to know something else you might not notice? How many words do you reckon are on screen? I always try to keep my slides to under 25 words per slide. Because after 25 words, studies have shown that people, especially high-achieving people, will decide they're going to read it before I get to it. If it's this size, this is about the max I would do. You're not having to choose. Most of you, 98% of you, are waiting until I get to it because it's not long enough. But if this was covered in text, some of you are already reading up and you're waiting for me. You're like, come on, dude, catch up. Get to where I'm at. This was a study done. Thousands of TED Talks. You look at any TED Talk, they rarely have more than 22 to 25 words on any given slide. So this is a visual thing for me to create that moment that could turn into a viral video or a 60-second YouTube short, but it's also a visual pattern interruption. And I'm also doing it strategically so that you're not reading ahead of me, you're staying with me, and you want to take a photo of it. So I spend a lot of time crafting, you know, you probably heard me say it, it's decreasing. It's not decreasing, it's not decreasing, it's decentralizing. Like that's one of those things that I've crafted to be catchy enough that you all remember. It's a hook. So yes, the longer answer is I totally do this, but it's become such routine for me now that I don't even think when I do it. Oh yeah, has anybody ever seen Andy Stanley preach? Andy Stanley? Search him on YouTube. He always preaches with a TV right here, and he interacts. So the thumbnail is him and the words. It's already done. It's already taken care of. It works vertically and it works horizontally. Processing that from that point of view, he's ready to go. And he just literally does this. That's all he does the whole way through. And what I found is, it's when you're interacting with the text especially, so some of you might be thinking, well, what if you've got a long passage you're preaching on? I break it up. I start with the first part and I call out something in the first part. I talked about Zacchaeus last night, right? I still used a Bible verse, but it was a short part of it, and I still walked over and I interacted with it. Jesus said, I must come to your house immediately, right? I don't know if you're here last night. Like, I'm trying to call it out because I want everybody to see that the text is alive. We can interact with it. We don't just read it cold. We can work with it and play around with it. So I'm always thinking through that lens as well. What do people need? What's going to help them remember it? What's going to be the thing? All the talk last night that I heard when people came up to me was all about Rabbi Lubin and what he said. So I set up with a photo of Rabbi Lubin so you all could see I wasn't making this guy up. And then I gave his quote. That's all I needed to do. And I literally could have ended right there. Because you all saw it. You didn't just hear it, you saw it. So while I want to be like Pastor Sam one day and be able to preach with no notes and all those things, I also want it to be super visual. All right, I've gone so over time. Tech guys, I'm so sorry. Thank you for putting up with me. You guys are the best. Can we give a round of applause?